there, welcome to Startup Central. I'm Nayantara, working from home in New Delhi. Hope everyone is safe and healthy. This is the only show of its kind on Indian television dedicated, of course, to startups, technology, innovation, disruption. Basically, if it falls under the gambit of the new economy, it's here every weekday at 6 p.m. Ladies and gentlemen, like all the stakeholders that we get on the show, Team Startup Central thrives on constructive feedback. Keep writing into us. Tell us what you like about the show, what you don't like about the show, how we can do things differently and only improve. You can also compliment us. We lap that up as well. Our email address right on top, suc@etnow.tv. And you can also reach out to me directly. My Twitter handle is @Nayantara. Now, of course, you couldn't have had a bigger disruption ever than coronavirus. Sequoia Capital has described it as the black swan of 2020. Of course, you've had Nicholas Taleb then saying it's not a black swan, but a white swan event. But even as that debate rages on, today we're going to talk about the business of fashion. Can the business of fashion really ever go out of style? What's in vogue besides comfy PJs? I thought let's get one of the biggest in business. Myntra, ladies and gentlemen, is our guest today, and here's the Chief Executive Officer joining us live right here on Startup Central. Good evening. I don't know how the lockdown has been for you. How has it been for you? And tell us, can the business of fashion ever go out of style?
Thank you, everyone, and thanks, Nayantara, for having me on the show. Fashion is one category where it will never go out of style, and that's what we witnessed in last 2.5 months, even during this COVID lockdown. And what we are witnessing in last 5 to 6 weeks of operations in Unlock 1.0, it's only giving us confidence that fashion as an industry is one of the first to adapt to the new normalcy and will actually take advantage of everything in its favor. And e-commerce coming in conjunction with fashion is what's going to propel this change.
Okay, so you're saying the business of fashion can never go out of style. So you tell me, Amar, that during a lockdown, when we are starting to unlock, but it's not fully unlocked. What's in vogue? What are people shopping besides maybe extra night suits, extra track suits, extra PJs, extra comfy T-shirts?
Well, actually, let me take a step back. What we have done during lockdown as the India's largest fashion platform is we invested into a lot of content to keep the relevance going with our consumers. And through that content, we've also realized there was a shift in the need state of our consumers. And fashion pre-COVID might have been considered as a discretionary one, but during COVID, it has clearly evolved into essentials, and especially in that essentials, we have categories where the pent-up demand from the lockdown is still going strong. Like you said, it could be all the nightwear, but what we're also saying is kidswear. Kidswear is one category where it's 2x of what we used to do before COVID. The kids grow, the sizes change, and that's something you cannot stop buying. The second thing is beauty and personal care, and especially on personal care, home grooming is the latest trend, and the trimmers is one of the best sold item on our platform today. Beauty, when it comes to beauty, do-it-yourself kits are just going through the roof. Home living is one more category which have also caught us by surprise. Maybe finally people got time to do their home. So there's a lot of interest in home living. There's a lot of interest in home fitness. Yoga mat is one of the best selling in that category. And of course, when it came to the fashion essentials in terms of the leisure wear, the comfort wear, the night track, the night track pants, shorts, t-shirts, top wear, dresses, all of this is going strong. I think the new categories that also came in during COVID, which is the mask, all the PPEs, they are going stronger. So this whole new set of categories that are going stronger is what's actually keeping or driving this change for the fashion as an industry. What might have actually slowed down is the occasion-led fashion wear that used to happen pre-COVID, that has definitely slowed down, but it's very well complemented by or augmented by all these fashion essential categories.
Okay, so you kind of have set the, should I say, the ramp for what's selling and not selling right now at Myntra. I find it really fascinating that you're trying to tell me that people are buying trimmers and yoga mats on Myntra. That's a category that you would perhaps be competing with when it even comes to the likes of, your parent company Flipkart or even Amazon for that matter.
Sure. What we've actually started doing as a business in the last 2.5 months is to get all the relevant selection in the context of lifestyle to our consumers. And a lot of this inventory we are actually working along with Flipkart as well. I mean, during this time, getting access to the selection is also a challenge, and we are working with Flipkart wherever we can. And the idea basically is we want to stay relevant. We want to stay top of the mind for our consumers, and we are working with our brand partners, with our small, medium enterprises across the country to get the relevant selection to our consumers. And these fit into that equation, and hence we are doing it on our platform.
If you're not going to rely on your parent company or vis-a-vis, then what's the point? I take that point really well, Amar. The other point I found very interesting, and is it the same thing then when you talked about home living? Can you give me some categories or some items under home living? Are you, like for example, now going to enter things like, or if you already have things like, let's say, bed covers, curtains, is that what you meant?
Yes, it's the bed covers, it's all the pillows, mattresses, the mattress covers, and the bedside lamps. Anything that can be done by yourself with almost no hard labor. Those are the categories that are really of the off the shelf, not just on Myntra. I mean, I'm actually speaking of what's really happening on the online space. When it comes to Myntra, it's the bedspreads, it's the pillow covers, it's the bedside lamps that are of a lot of demand right now.
But then tell me something, this was obviously a part of the strategy just to stay relevant, to be a part of business, also to be expanding categories at a time when, everybody's fighting for that 1 rupee, right? Because consumption is down, discretionary income is coming down. But will it not confuse the brand Myntra? Like, isn't it going to become, and pardon me over here, I'm asking, is it going to become a hopscotch, like everything? Because so far you've been, associated with fashion, but now, you've got bed covers, bedside table lamps, yoga mats, condoms, nose trimmers.
It's an excellent question, Nayantara. What we have done in categories that we have entered during the lockdown, we've actually put ourselves a very strict guardrail on the list of products or the kind of products we get on board. We believe there is an element of fashion in everything that surrounds us. It's not just the apparel. It could be the home living. It could be beauty. It could be personal care. And that's the approach we are taking to it. What we are not trying to do is get everything in that category listed on Myntra. So if you look at our collection today, it's very much in line with what Myntra always stands for. It's the element of fashion. We bring that the trendiness. We bring that what's really happening in the world of fashion to our consumers, and that is being extended to the categories we are venturing into. The idea is not to compete with horizontals or the other platforms in these categories. This is more from a selection completeness perspective.
So you don't think that there is going to be any confusion going forward, or is this only till we return to normalcy? Because let's face it, we're not back to normal as India's unlocking. So is this temporary, and later Flipkart will figure which is to be a fashion e-commerce marketplace?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't believe this is temporary. What we will stand for as Myntra is we will stand as a fashion player where we are trying to bring fashion into everything that is in adjacency of fashion as well. I mean, the platforms the other horizontals might provide a wide list or a wide range of selection in these categories, while we restrict ourselves to match the needs or match the relevance of the target consumer segment we have on our platform. So that's the idea. We will continue to focus on fashion. We will continue to make sure our differentiation stands out when it comes to fashion, and all the other categories will only be complementing the selection from the completeness perspective.
Okay. Do you want to tell me, you've told me that our fashion wear came down, but with you entering so many categories, you alluded to this point. So I want to understand this. You said fashion is never going to go out of vogue or style. It's always going to be in vogue. And you know, kudos to you. You decided to see fashion in a new way, which would not just be what I wear, but what I have around my in my surroundings, because you know my bedside table is obviously going to be the new accessory during a lockdown and far more relevant than, let's say, a handbag. But having said that, would you say, how did your revenues do? You know, I know you don't have to disclose them, but how bad was it?
How bad was it, as in? Sorry, I didn't get the last part.
So during the lockdown, was it a big hit? Because you couldn't earn a single buck perhaps. A lot of the things would not be counted as essential. You still had these, you know, so much confusion that you have to pay wages and all of that. So how bad was it for Myntra, or how good was it for Myntra?
During lockdown, like every other business, we were not operational, and in fact, we chose to be not operational before the lockdown was enforced or by the government of India, and that is for the reason that we wanted to make sure all our employees are safe, and we did not want to risk anyone venturing out serving our consumers. And during the lockdown, our only focus was the safety of employees and making sure all our employees are safe and well taken care. And during that time, what we've also realized is, as a platform, as a fashion tech platform, we always had aspirations to be a content destination as well. And COVID kind of gave us that opportunity to become that destination. In fact, there was a lot of content that was put on the platform. There was a lot of innovation done by the teams in creating this kind of content by partnering with influencers across the country, shooting from their homes, editing from their homes, and making it live on the platform. And like I said earlier, this content also gave us an exposure to what really consumers are looking for, and we were quickly able to churn out that content. So in a way, if you look at from our journey in the last 2.5 months, we try to stay relevant to the consumer in the best way possible, in staying compliant with the law of the land and the regulations that are being put forward in the interest of national safety. And when the Unlock 1.0 started, all of this data helped us to come up with a selection which is very relevant to the new consumer need state. In fact, in a very, very short span, we were able to recover to a pre-COVID level much faster than what we were anticipating. And that's when our thesis came true, that we were listening to our consumers during the lockdown. We kind of acted on it. We worked with the brand partners to churn out the relevant selection for our consumers. And when the Unlock 1.0 started, our selection was just the right selection for our consumers. And it just so happened that we kind of had the perfect match between the demand and supply. So the way we bounce back is actually a validation of how a lot of work that happened in the last 2.5 months, and how accurate we were with our predictions, and how our strategic relationship with the brands worked out.
You know, also, Amar, I wanted to ask you this. A lot of people who might have not been comfortable with technology would have had no choice but to become comfortable with technology, right? During the lockdown. How has new customer acquisition been for you during the lockdown? And going forward, how are you going to make sure that the numbers keep clocking in? Because, you know, as India unlocks, the physical stores will also start opening. Or are you hoping that now that people have tested and experimented with the online world, they're here to stay?
It's a very relevant question, and this is also challenging us as a tech player. In addition to what we serve as a fashion player, um, our users are now forced to come online for the product, and we are very cognizant of their needs. We're also relooking at our technologies on how these technologies can be intuitive friendly to our consumers. In fact, we had two releases of our app in last 2 months, which is more geared towards tier 2 tier 3 consumers. In fact, this event, the URS event that is coming up in a week from now, is geared more towards the tier 2 tier 3. If you look at the selection we put together in partnership with all the brands and all the small medium enterprises across the country, the kind of communication we are doing in terms of our marketing with Ritik Roshan, Sonakshi Sinha, and for the first time we even have a celebrity from the South, Samantha. All of this is geared towards addressing the tier 2, tier 3. In terms of our pin code reach, it used to be 23,000 pin codes. Now we have actually scaled it up to 27,000 pin codes, more towards tier 2, tier 3. And this is an area where we're taking advantage of Flipkart's wide infrastructure because they were already strong in tier 2, tier 3, and we're banking on them to help us get into tier 2, tier 3. So what's really happening right now, Nayantara, is like there is a pent-up demand in tier 2, tier 3, which unfortunately is not being served because of the constraints we are living in. And that's exactly where an online platform like Myntra is serving it. And brands are seeing this as an opportunity to reach the new consumers using Myntra. And that's why this event is going to be very, very important for the entire fashion industry and for those set of consumers whose access to premium brands and whose access to new styles has always been a challenge, which became even worse with the COVID coming in. In terms of us adapting to the new users coming on board, um, we are learning actively from the data. In fact, we have instrumented our apps to understand where are the friction points where the new customers are finding it hard to go to the next level or the next page on the app. And the teams are actively working on looking at the ways of making it very, very intuitive for our the new customers coming in from tier 2, tier 3. And this is an exciting journey we have ahead of us, and URS this time is going to give us more and more lessons and more learning.
An idea.
And sorry.
So Amar, if I could come in there, if I could come in there, so the question I want to ask you is, you're a fashion tech player, and you're talking about intuitiveness over here. How do you see that going up? How will you make sure that, for example, the changing room becomes redundant? There is always an apprehension of, I need to try out the outfit, does it look good on me? Going forward, how do you see the changing room becoming redundant? Can it ever become redundant, and what is Myntra planning for that? What kind of new technology can we expect?
Okay. In fact, this was all of these were on our radar even before COVID. We were investing into some of the technologies or initiatives to see if we could complement the dressing room behavior. What COVID has done is expedited some of these investments. Size and Fit is one initiative where we are driving the whole the technology towards predicting the right size and right fit for our consumers, even though if the consumer never purchased from Myntra. I mean, it might not sound as non-trivial as it is, but there is a lot of machine learning and data science at play here, and this is something we have expedited. What we also believe right now is there will always be new brands and new styles, which will be hard for online users to try out. And that's where we are working with the brand partners to standardize the size charts, to standardize all the information available for the new consumers, and making sure that the information is in a consumable state. In fact, if you look at Myntra from last 1 year, we have tried to change our cataloging to video. They are no longer images. In fact, 1 in 2 products on Myntra today have video as cataloging. Video is the most consumable media format, and it has driven quite a bit of adoption where people can actually see a lot of content that you would usually see in product description right up there in the video, where it's explaining the product. It's not a model walking down the ramp. It's more utilitarian video where the consumers can understand what this particular product is made of, or what this particular product is built to do. Especially in the case of running shoes, there are a lot of videos which will help people find the right shoe for their needs. In addition to this, what we are also doing as a platform is the omni-channel integration, where we are bringing stores also onto our platform. And we have aspirations where we want to do the new retail in this country, regardless of where the consumer is. The offline store will complement the online platform, or the online platform will complement the offline store, so that the trial room and the confidence of trying something online would become very, very intuitive for our consumer. And like Nayantara, I said before, this is a journey that we have embraced. COVID has only expedited some of these investments, and you will be seeing a lot of these initiatives going live in next 2 to 3 months.
So can I ask you to be forthcoming of how much more you've had to invest? Is that something you would be willing to share? It would be great to know that how companies have increased their cash runway, got an increased liquidity buffer, and invested for life after COVID, during COVID.
Hey, when I talk about investments, these were anyway part of the plan that we were doing as a business. What COVID has actually done has validated some of our strategies, and we are only expediting those investments. I mean, this last 2.5 months, it made me believe that e-commerce is probably the only business model which was always built for post-COVID world. The strategies that we were thinking pre-COVID are still relevant, and in fact more relevant than ever in the COVID world. So the investments will continue to happen, and there is no reason for us to cut down on the investments. In terms of the business, the cash and liquidity, the business is doing phenomenally well once we started bouncing back. So it's I would say it's a pause that we took because of lockdown, but as a business, we are back to where we were pre-COVID, and we are hopeful that we will continue this journey as well.
That's great to know that business is coming back, and we at ET Now are celebrating that. India Revival Mission is, an initiative that the Times Network has taken at large. And Amar, as part of that, I want to get you on the big event that all of you at Myntra have been working very closely on. Is the 12th edition of that mega sale event. It's perhaps the equivalent of what Flipkart, etc. do with the Big Billion Day and all of that. What is it about? And you're not being ambitious with the timing? Like, you really think that revenge shopping is a reality? It's not a myth?
It's definitely not a myth for us, and this is actually not coming from any data from across the globe. This is what we have witnessed in last 2.5 months. What this event is actually, like I said earlier, is bringing the demand and supply together in most effective way than ever before. The brands are excited to meet the new customers through the event. The customers are more excited to see, to have access to the new brands and new styles, which we believe this whole event will bring a new ray of hope, new ray of normalcy in this COVID world that we are all living in. This event has been put together in a way. This is not just a Myntra event anymore. It's an event by the entire fashion industry. Over 3,000 brands are participating in this event. We have close to 750,000 styles being part of the event, out of which close to 150,000 styles are going to go on offer for the first time. That's how much brands are excited to bring these styles to the customers. From our side, from Myntra as a platform, or from a fashion tech platform, we have geared up our systems to handle the new kind of demand that is going to come from tier 2, tier 3. We are also excited about all the new handloom brands that we brought on board. Taking the call of Honorable Prime Minister, we now have 400 plus brands on our platform, which will be carrying a lot of Indian handloom products for this event. So this event, we believe, is much bigger than any other event in the past. It is the first ray of hope, or the first access to a retail therapy that India has been longing for.
Okay. Retail therapy, revenge shopping, really a reality, not a myth. Amar, with that, I'm going to thank you. First of all, thank you for being so candid. It's the first interview that Myntra, the country's largest fashion e-commerce site, has given since COVID-19. It's bounced back to pre-COVID times. You know what's trending, what's hot, what's not, and now they're coming out with that mega sale. We look forward to many more interviews with you, Amar, in the near future. Hopefully things will get back to normal and we can do it face-to-face. With that, thank you once again. And ladies and gentlemen, we're completely out of time. Many thanks for watching. See you same time tomorrow.